All right, ladies and gentlemen, the final panel discussion of the day. Please take your seats. It's going to be full on, in-depth, super interesting. And the person who's going to lead the entire discussion about staking after the Shapella upgrade on Ethereum is Lior. So take it away, Lior.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so much for being here. It's 5:20 on the end of day 2, and you're all still here. So first, round of applause to yourselves for the stamina. Good job, team. And this is a really topical panel, because when we looked at the description of it, they said, there's a scheduled upgrade in Ethereum. And here we are actually 2 days after the upgrade. So it's a really good time to, I think, be talking about this, especially with this distinguished lot of people that I have here. So before we really dive in, I'm going to ask you guys to kind of go down the line and introduce yourselves, who you are, what you do, and how you got here. Really quick, though. Sorry.
Okay. So, hey guys, pleasure to be here. I'm Lior, Israeli by origin, and I'm the legal counsel of Stake Capital, mainly Stake DAO, so deep down in the DeFi space. I'm in the blockchain space since 2010, doing many stuff since then, building stuff, not always as a lawyer, so entrepreneur also. In the last years, I'm mainly dealing with law.
Amazing. Next in line.
Cool. I'm Nicholas Kunkel. I was a founding member of MakerDAO. Currently, I am the Oracle Core Unit Facilitator at MakerDAO, and more recently became the founder of Chronicle Labs, who is building a decentralized Oracle protocol.
Awesome. And Mara doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to ask her anyway.
My name is Schmiedt. I'm the CEO at Alluvial. We're an enterprise-grade liquid staking protocol that's focused on enabling mainstream adoption across the market. Prior to starting Alluvial, I actually managed the business and sales team at Coinbase Cloud and Bison Trails before that, so I spent a lot of time in the staking space over the last couple of years, and very excited about our discussion.
Awesome. And Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Messler. I'm CEO of Pillar Project and also Ethersport. And with Ethersport, we bring an account abstraction solution. What I mean by that jargon is we try to give Web3 a Web2-like UX. So we talk about mass adaptation. If it ain't usable, it's not going to be adapted. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'm just plugging in, so thank you.
And Mario.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Mário, I work with Ethereum Foundation in protocol support team. So protocol support is generally helping with like coordination. I'm doing some research, and I've been actually helping a little bit with Shapella testing and so on. And I've been running the protocol fellowship, created toys for creating entropy using cats and stuff like that. Yeah.
Perfect. And maybe just sticking with Shapella, since it's basically the top of everyone's mind right now. And to you, Mario, how do you think the upgrade went?
Well, I mean, the Ethereum is still running, right? Yeah, let me check it's making blocks, right? Yeah, I mean, it went pretty smooth. So technically speaking, like, I don't know what else to say. We get few very minor bugs. The participation rate with the attestation dropped like 5% maybe. So normally Ethereum is operating with like 99.5 and more percent validators attesting and working, and we need like 2/3, which means 66 or like, I don't know, let's say 70% would be like the bottom. So yeah, very good when the lowest we saw like was 94 point something, so around 5% less. And this was just minor bugs. There was bugs with Prism and MEV boost. There was a minor bug in Lighthouse, which caused a lot of CPU usage because during the fork we saw a lot of the updates of the keys which you need to do to withdraw the funds. So that just clients are going to handle. But generally, it was smooth. It's there, and of course, the biggest upgrade of the Ethereum now is finished thanks to the push zero, which was like the most important thing in Shapella. Do you know about push zero actually?
Tell us about it.
Yeah, push zero pushes zero on the stack. You can do it with the opcode push and zero, like pushing zero, but now it's in one code and you can save 1 byte. It's like the best change in the, no, okay. I'm just trying to troll a little, sorry. So like the withdrawals were the main thing, but there was other small changes on the EVM, so it's all running, all smooth.
Perfect. Would any of you guys want to add to that? Feelings about Shapella and the upgrade? You, Lior, yeah.
Should I say something?
I heard you take a deep breath. I was expecting something.
No. It's a deep breath of thinking. You see the Ether value going up. Everything is okay. Everything, really. It's part of this evolution that we see in the economy. The merge went okay. People were afraid from the merge. Nowadays, everything is smooth. You even less hear about it, by the way. Some of us were surprised from it, maybe. And to see it, happening so smoothly, and also it's a major change. And also, by the way, all these stakers that were waiting so much time for something to happen, it's not obvious at all. And I think you can see it's an expression of trust in the community, in the ideas, in the major project in the space, and this is my perspective.
Well, if I take it further, I'm excited by the opportunity and the challenges that it brings. Things we don't really talk about when we talk about the liquidity side is the APY rate being taken as potentially as the risk-free rate for the Ethereum space and beyond, and the kinds of products that can be built on top of that. And I find that fascinating and potential. And obviously, liquidity staking, it could be disrupted, and that is again up for a debate. So you guys have more expertise than I do on that.
Yeah. Piggybacking off that, it's been honestly one of the really, fundamental milestones, I think, that not just the community that's already invested in participating in this ecosystem, but also players that have been sitting on the sidelines have been looking towards. When you think about participation from, the traditional market, from institutions, a lot have felt that, the enablement for withdrawals and the period, the duration that this hasn't been enabled has been one of the remaining unknowns, I think, in Ethereum, core participation and market sentiment. So to echo your feedback, I'm very excited to see how we, see renewed interest and general market sentiment, attract not just innovation, but also new participation in the space.
Nick? No? All right. I mean, everyone said everything that was possible to say about Shapella, right? No, but I mean, a lot of you guys obviously work quite deep in the staking universe. And of course, now that withdrawals are possible, that's kind of been the highlight that everyone's taken away from the upgrade. But maybe looking into the sort of institutionalization of the staking universe, right? How does this impact your sort of business case and your approach to the market? And I give this back to Mara.
Yeah, I can continue where I just left off. I've been focusing on different kind of staking ecosystems for a long time. Long time as long as it's been around. Focusing on kind of enablement for the early adopters, so crypto native participants in the really early days, thinking about how to support at-home stakers through things like the Ethereum Launchpad, which was launched back in December 2020 when the Beacon Chain went live first. All the way to, how do we move along the adoption curve? Who is the next set of adopters that we're going to be able to enable, and what kind of tools, products, and capabilities do they need in order to participate in the market, but also contribute to Ethereum's, core security through staking participation? I think one of the really interesting sort of observations through the last 18 months is that institutional participation and demand is starting to, come into the market, not just through traditional staking, but also if you think about the various strategies that, hedge funds might deploy or structured product providers, the opportunity space that enables is massive. concurrently, you've almost seen development and innovation that is developed around, what happens not just in the staking space and who participates in it. We've almost moved from a very, monolithic technology stack where node operators are sort of the end-all be-all to a very modularized technology stack where, now we're seeing key middleware solutions around DVT and MEV relays, right? We're starting to see staking pool form that provide different users, different value adds or, capabilities that people can build on top of. So I'm tremendously excited for that. I think we're seeing a lot of that on our side, of course, as a partner that focuses on, enabling leading custodians and other partners who service the institutional market and really catering to that on-ramp.
Sure. Maybe on your side, Lior.
Yeah, I'm thinking first of all, institutions is a big word. I've been asked this. I've been asked this question in various, occasions. And what is institutions? I think when we speak about institutions, people tend to think about traditional institutions, and that's actually something that you see quite nice in Ethereum. So staking, the ability to stake in Ethereum, and now the Shapella upgrade is even open this to more institutions and give them the certainty to invest in, because Ethereum, from a legal standpoint, is pretty much clear that this is a commodity, maybe staking. So the risk is but the risk could be mitigated for those kind of institutions. So it could be like the traditional institutions that may have this ability to invest in. Also, of course, the exchanges and the regulated exchanges like Coindex, like Coinbase, etc., they can invest easily. When you think about institutional investment in the more in the DeFi space, so this is for institutions that may take the risk, and this is for maybe different kind of institutions that are more like crypto oriented in that regard. So my take is that the change in Ethereum will give much more certainty for institutions from all kinds to participate in the staking activity.
Just if I add, what do you think of counterparty risk? Say, for instance, if I am an old institution, now I don't need to go to a third party that gives me another token. I can just take X amount of I can buy a portfolio directly into Ethereum, knowing full well I can take it back out.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you think that can then engage older family houses, old-fashioned family houses, etc., that want to dip their toes into this space and experiment with this asset class?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And this will inject another, treasury to the industry, and then all the DeFi layer 2 LSDs, etc., will gain from it, of course.
And when we talk about institutions, like you said, it's actually a really interesting sort of difference, and it's important to identify that difference, right? When we talk about institutions as in old Swiss houses like a Nestle or a UBS versus stake capital, which is in fact also a form of institution, but maybe more on the DeFi side of things. How would you see sort of the difference in the attitudes towards staking by, let's say, the DeFi side of things?
Of course, if we speak about all family houses or financial institutions, etc., they are bound to regulation. They have less ability to take the risks, less ability to do specific things. But when you have this more oriented crypto institutions, they are institutions at the end. They are the new generation of institutions. It works with a lot of partnerships in between those. So those new generation of institutions are actually the gate to DeFi, to some more complex real world assets, etc. So a lot of time you do these complicated deals that gives the ability to some traditional money to participate in the crypto space in a safe way.
So I think more on the DeFi side of things, now that we are kind of in like a post-Shapella landscape, I think there's going to be like a significant redistribution of market share. Nothing against Lido. I love those guys, right? They clearly have a very dominant position right now. But I think when you look at why they've been able to achieve that dominance is because they've had, one, a lot of liquidity, right, for the LSD, right? But two, right, that people could also, right, that it had been integrated into, DeFi credit platforms, right? So people could leverage up on the yield, right, or, tap into the equity of that yield-bearing kind of asset. Now, post-Shapella, liquidity isn't really a constraint as much anymore, right? As soon as you can redeem, right, the liquidity buffers start mattering a lot less. And what that also means is that you're going to see a lot of the DeFi protocols start onboarding other LSDs extremely quickly. Because I can tell you from the MakerDAO perspective, and I'm sure this applies to Aave and Compound as well, is that part of the reason why we wouldn't onboard alternative LSDs, or at least not with the amount of like debt exposure that users might like, is because of the liquidity constraints. So if you unlock the liquidity constraints, you unlock the credit restraints, and all of a sudden now you have a much more competitive landscape.
So following on from that, right? So you're saying there's going to be a lot of new competitors to Lido, but what is actually the use case for a Lido staked ETH token today compared to, let's say, 5 days ago?
I wouldn't say that Lido got worse. They did not, right? People can unlock now, right? It's safer, but everything else just got better, right? And so there's more of like a leveling off type of effect.
Sure.
But they still have a little tiny niche because you can't just withdraw. You have to wait 27 hours, and if you were slashed even 36 days. Would they have that little say, oh yeah, but you can take it out straight away kind of thing?
And for a complete, like to withdraw everything, you need to wait even 100 days. So it's a lot of time for financial activities to happen.
But generally, it was a big constraint that just the LSDs had basically lower market value, or like you were losing, I don't know, 1% or something when you are exchanging them. So now this arbitrage basically won't be necessary. And yeah, mentioning the alternative project, like I don't know, Rocket Pool had a problem exactly with this. They had little liquidity to offer, and now I hope, I'm bullish on these decentralized pools. Hopefully they will get more traction thanks to this,
For sure. And it's, I actually don't think it's a winner-take-all market at all.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah. I think post-Shapella, if anything, as Nick mentioned, we'll probably see a lot more of a competitive market landscape and probably specialization around certain capabilities, value propositions, and other things that, will attract stakers that come from very different customer segments. I think, go for it.
No, just to dive into that. So you're saying different sorts of, I guess, value propositions around different LSDs available in the market. Maybe you can elaborate on that a bit more.
Yeah.
Without necessarily shit-talking anyone.
No. I mean, look, we have like a very particular approach. Like, I've kind of seen the market evolve. I've done research on this market since like 2020. I love the different implementations that exist. They all serve a very particular need, have different architectural, considerations. The one, thing that I found missing, when I was working at Coinbase, but also found missing across the other, partners that we were working with at the time is how do we get people to be able to contribute to Ethereum security using Robinhood? Knowing fully that Robinhood is not going to be able to integrate Lido because, it's a company that has a compliance unit and a risk management arm and, certain counterparty risk considerations and other things that, will just prohibit from being able to integrate a fully decentralized backend that is just completely permissionless. So we focused on this question in the market, which is how do we get the next realm of participants on? And where do these participants interact, transact today? And how can we go away from having fully centralized architectures to centralized front ends with decentralized back ends? And how can we be the bridge to that, right? To create a compelling offering that has significant advantages to the users, that has significant advantages to the businesses that are integrating it. So that has been our approach. I think one of the really interesting things, and Michael actually said this, is I think the behavioral pattern in crypto that we're going to see is like, we've gone from like holding crypto, which was like the first use case, custody, to like trading crypto, and then exchanges kind of had a big moment and sort of proliferating to like, what is the utility function in crypto? And staking naturally lends itself to the third sort of pillar in the adoption that we're probably going to be seeing, not just across users that are starting to onboard on the retail side, but also on the institutional side, right? So that's really like our differentiation or focus point. But again, I view different solutions as different capabilities. As someone who feels comfortable, uses a ledger, wants to use a dApp, love using liquid staking protocols that like offer me an interface that meets me where I'm at. But most people are not there. And they don't have to be, right? It's okay. So yeah, piggybacking off what Nick said, I think we're going to see some really interesting dynamics. And I'm also really excited to make this accessible to the broader public. So,
Nick, you want to add something there? You look like you had something to say.
I'm sure. I think she's kind of said it all.
Okay, then, I mean, of course, none of us have a crystal ball, but there's been a lot of sort of, let's say, speculation about what we're going to see kind of happen over the next couple of weeks as the first withdrawals start processing, and also what this means for the sort of supply demand around ETH. And maybe, Mario, you want to jump in there?
What was the question? A demand?
Supply and demand around ETH, as in, and also, I guess, maybe what percentage of ETH we'll start to see being staked now?
I cannot answer that.
No
I really don't know. I mean, honestly, like purely subjective. I met somebody at this conference saying, "Well, now with withdrawals, I feel comfortable to stake." Right. So I can imagine that there will be more people, hopefully home stakers, who feel more comfortable coming in a part of the institutions. And I'm not sure if we can see that yet. Like I saw some charts already. You can see some nice visualization of the withdrawals and deposits. And I think in past few, hours. It's still hours since Shapella, right? We actually saw also a spike in deposits. So maybe they will cancel out, and we will see around the roughly the same or maybe slowly. I'm like generally for the security of the network, we need or we would prefer the deposited ETH, the validators deposits going up, right? We need more security. So I'm hoping it's going to still be inclining. What worries me a bit, also the LSDs, which worry me a bit, how the protocol security will handle this, or like big parties, and like just to reiterate, I just hope that if we see now the landscape changing a little with some withdrawals, some new deposits, that it will end up more distributed across different pools, technologies, and
Michael?
I mean, the stats so far do not show drastic movement. I mean, there is a net withdrawal, but within realms of expectation. And as an individual, for instance, if I'm hodling, say, let's say I have 100 ETH, I didn't feel comfortable to stake my ETH because I don't know when this thing is going to be allow me, just in case there's a run on the banks type of scenario. Now, at least at the back of my mind, I can say, okay, I can put this portion into the staking, knowing well, within 27 hours, I can take it out. So as an individual, I feel more comfortable. Even if I was a treasurer of a certain company, I might think, because I'm sorry, but I wouldn't touch liquid staking stuff because it is exposing me to another risk. I'm not dealing with some company like like Celsius going down and...
But do you think that's the consensus view of the average person?
I agree with you personally, but I think that we're rather odd in that respect. I think if you're going to hold ETH, you may as well get the yield from staking, and right? So to me, it's just that staking number is just going to go up only. They're just going to, right? It's I don't know if any of you here have like tried to like stake on your own, right? Like I have like a DApp node at home, and like DApp node makes it kind of approachable. But like if I asked like my sister or my my dad to set up a validator on a DApp node, I don't think he could, or she could. Yeah. Yet with LSDs, right? When they become a bit more ubiquitous, just presents people with a really accessible way to do staking. And post Shapella, now that you can also unstake, right? They've been de-risked significantly. So I really don't see, I don't know what the scare was about, like that we would see, mass people fleeing from staking. No, it's just up only from here. And
but would you see
I've yet to hear any compelling argument for why that's not the case.
Then would you see then some sort of innovation where the LSDs probably allow me to stake my ETH without even touching their token, but I just want to go into ETH, get your commission.
Is your problem the token or just the counterparty risk on whatever protocol you're using?
Both. Counterparty risk is always there, but the token as well. And what if I'm so conservative and say, I just want my ETH and I don't want to touch any other ERC token, ERC20?
It's actually really interesting because it takes the presumption that you are already holding Ethereum on your balance sheet. We're talking to institutional customers who aren't even there yet. And they want to get exposure to staking rewards. So the only way they can get exposure to staking rewards is if they look at putting market neutral trading strategies on, leveraging liquid staking tokens that can be cash settled. That'll be their first entry into Ethereum because they're not even at the point where they're holding it on their balance sheet. And I think it's that innovation space that becomes super interesting when you start bringing participants in that haven't even gone through the process of approving custody holding for their entity, right? Like that's kind of like what I'm referring to. Of course, there's going to be people between there and sort of the degens that are like on the other end of the spectrum and probably on this panel. But I think there's sort of a middle ground there. I do agree with Nick, like just on the dynamics of what we've seen. If you actually look at the statistics, just probably people should be checking out the rated dashboard. I actually love it. But if you look at the dynamics that we've seen, it's like withdrawals are there. Like the withdrawal queue is like probably 15 days at this point was what it hit. But when you look at the composition, it's actually mostly partial withdrawals, which means that people are just like recycling their rewards. And then there's a small portion, like 5-ish%, that are actually full withdrawals, people leaving the chain. And people are like, oh, we thought this would be so much longer. If you deposited your ETH 2 years ago, knowing you were going to be locked up for 2+ years, you're probably not trying to run for the hills anyways. Like, you were pretty long on it to begin with. So I agree with Nick. It's probably only up from here. Like the more innovation that continues, the more we're creating robustness in the way that staking infrastructure is operated, the diversification of staking infrastructure between at-home stakers, enterprise stakers, liquid staking pools, and sort of the responsibilities that we all have to ensure that we're optimizing for security in a holistic way. The more participation we're going to see on a risk-free rate participation in Web3.
Also comparing to the other proof of stake protocols, the staking in Ethereum is quite low. Exactly. So in the others, I guess in Ethereum it's 15%, in the others it's 30, 40.
It's like 40 to 80.
More. 40 to 80.
Yeah.
40 to 80.
But this is a sort of interesting question that kind of came from what Michael was saying before. There's going to be people who will just happily, use their Kraken or Coinbase account and just press stake, and then they're kind of done with the deal. There'll be people at home with setting up their DApp nodes. Apparently, Nick is one of those people. And somewhere in between, I think you also have and institutions who would partner directly with counterparties like Alluvial. I guess what is the benefit to me running my own node at home, and what are things that I should consider when doing that? And then on the flip side, what are the benefits to kind of just chucking it in there with Lido? And maybe Mario wants to take first hit.
Thank you for the question. Because what you mentioned to run your node, it's the only way how to use Ethereum. Literally, like that's how you use Ethereum. It's the only way how can you use Ethereum in truly trustless, private manner without it. Like the whole point of this ecosystem here is like, well, we want to avoid third parties, we want to avoid single points of failure, and then you ended up using like a wallet within Fura, which is like just a third party, and you completely trust it. So I would encourage everybody in this room to run their own node. And one thing is that, which we don't have for staking right now, but even for normal users, light clients are already a thing, I believe. But otherwise, for I've been talking to many home stakers who just help to set up the node at home, and it's mostly hobbyists, you know, like it's people who want to dedicate a little bit of time. So that's what you have to sacrifice. That's be excited about it, because you're certainly gaining the security, the privacy, and well, the sovereignty for yourself. But also you are helping the whole network. You are being one of those in the current setup where everything like the LSDs are growing. Like there's a great article on the risks of LSD by Danny Ryan. And that's one of the issues here, right? Like if the LSD grow that much, it's bigger than what we need for finality on the consensus, we might see some potential problems when these big actors can actually abuse their power. And the home stakers, they're only saving us, right? So and it's kind of amazing if you think about it, that like my little computer here at home, or I mean there were guys taking it for a hike or something, and like this here created next Ethereum block. It literally built it, decided it, okay, maybe somebody uses MEV Boost, but you can build the block in your own little computer. You can show your grandchildren, this was the block built by me, I'm part of the Ethereum history forever. So this is what you can get with your own node. And again, like you can use dApp node. There are, what I'm hoping to see now is actually more solutions like dApp node. They are doing a great job. There are other alternatives like Avado, there is Ethereum, there is Nice Node, and I'm hoping to see more solutions like this. And if somebody's afraid of a terminal, they can use this. Otherwise, they can open up the terminal. But I'm hoping there will be more like home staking solutions which are easy. And also the pools, that's another thing. Like I already mentioned the distributed pools, which enable you to stake some lower amount than 32 ETH, but at the same time, keep the sovereignty of your own hardware, of your running the open software on your own computer, right? And I mean, that's Rocket Pool, which is going to have the 8 ETH. There are other protocols popping up, I think Device doing same thing. And I don't want to name specifically, but we see that that's growing as well. So for many people, it will become, even with a lower capital, it will become easier to actually do this. Yeah, so that's what you are gaining, and you just you need time. What you need to dedicate is the machine, is to have the computer, which the core devs or like the community of Ethereum is working really hard to make it as simple as possible, as save as many resources as possible. That's why the gas fees are so high, by the way, right? So yeah, use the opportunity to use some, I mean, low-end hardware. I recommend using old laptop. It even has a battery. It can run on your shelf. You already have it lying around. Compared to this, just to click on some Lido thing or something, I mean, it will be always easier, but you will not help yourself, you will not help network. And I believe that in the case of the capture, in case of the, well, probably government or whatever alien invasion, you won't see that ever again, right? So you need the keys. It's not your keys, not your coin. And there is still big trust in the third parties, whether you're using the LSDs or some custodial services. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe on the other side, more positives on custodial or pooled staking solutions or alternatives to running your own node at home.
Sure. I mean, look, it's like you said, right? If you're
everyone, there's space for everyone here. Yep.
If you're staking at home, yes, you're contributing to the network, right? I think Michael, you would probably say, right? I don't have to take the counterparty risk of this LSD protocol, right? So it's risk mitigating. So we can say those are the benefits of staking at home, right? Versus the benefits of LSDs, right? You're going to have DeFi integrations, right? And so you're going to be able to basically lever up on staking yield, right? Or you're going to be able to tap into the equity of your, staked ETH, right? That's
while taking maybe a little bit more risk, right? So for someone who is more financially motivated, right, that's probably the best approach, right? For someone who is, believes in crypto but maybe doesn't feel technically comfortable to run their own node, right? It is getting easier, but let's not kid ourselves here. It's you have to maintain. You have to watch it every day. Yeah. Make sure you're hitting the attestations. Maybe your node goes down. Maybe you didn't upgrade the node in time for the hard fork, right? It's a thing you really have to babysit, right? And so from an accessibility point of view, right? I can totally understand that someone feels much more comfortable, right, going to a rocket pool or going to a Lido or right, or some other LSD, right?
It's a great summary. I would just I think I also saw the visualization like that somewhere. It's basically like risk versus how comfortable you are, right? Or maybe, the leveraging the positions and stuff like this. It's also another benefit with maybe more risk.
Now, if we can stake at home and somehow find a way to plug that into DeFi, then all bets are off. Then we have the best of both worlds.
That would be awesome, to be honest, because I follow you. It just reminded me of 2017 when I was running my own node, and to just basically see the wallet interactions, etc. And it is painful.
And I'm kind of foreshadowing here because I do know some teams that are working on this, but they're still in stealth, so I'm going to keep their names private for now.
Easter eggs dropping around here, guys. Keep your ears open. Alpha. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. I think it's not just about the question of how do we make it easier, more accessible for at-home stakers, but also maybe how do we take the burden of risk and self-responsibility. Like Nick said, it's work to run your own node, right? I think there's innovations that are happening in loads of different parts of the tech stack. I think DVT is a really exciting solution that can let at-home stakers sort of share and spread the risk of participation. And there's some amazing, teams in the audience today that are making that possible. So I think we are seeing a lot of that. I think it's really, really healthy that we're continuing to innovate in that direction and support, Ethereum core direct staking models alongside all the other capabilities that we want to see in the market to really bring crypto mainstream.
But outside of the sort of ease of, setting up your own node, is there any other benefit to kind of working with someone who's actually specialized in it? So with a larger pool provider or so, maybe in the distribution of rewards, or I'm asking as a person who is considering the two options in front of me.
Yeah, it depends who you are. Right? I saw sort of the evolution of staking as a service companies in 2018-ish, 19-ish. It was a very proliferating market because it's actually really expensive if you're a company to build an entire team out that runs core infrastructure. And actually, you might not want to just run your own nodes because that creates a lot of risk, especially on a network that has, correlated risk considerations, right? So we're seeing a lot of people move away from those architectures as is, which is actually good for the network to have that diversification and see that also across these, dominant players and centralized players in the market. But it really depends what your objectives are. And I think it goes back to what Nick is saying, right? It's what things are you optimizing for? There will always be a breadth and spectrum of solutions that will cater to those needs, and that's healthy. That's called having a healthy, mature market, and different solutions that cater to that.
Awesome. We're at about a minute or so, and I want to also leave time for questions. I'm going to go ahead and assume everybody in the audience owns some amount of ETH. Shoot me if I'm wrong. But let's do a show of hands. How many of you already have staked your ETH?
Hey.
All right. And how many of you have staked your ETH at home?
Woo! My man.
There are dozens of us.
SWAT t-shirts for you guys.
I wish I had cookies to offer, but I don't. I want to quickly check the audience. Is there already somebody who has a question that's better than what's in my list? And you don't know what's on my list, they're all crap, so. Anyone got questions? Otherwise, I can keep going.
Cookies for stakers is home stakers is a really good idea. Yeah.
They need those, eh? Okay, so maybe just going down the line, starting with Lior. What are you most bullish for in the staking landscape in the months ahead?
Let me think. I don't think I'm bullish on something. I think I'm bullish on everything. It's really, that's why I'm here.
Up only, up only.
That's why I'm here. It's like I see it as I see always like great steps. So, like if you ask me if in 2017 people told me DeFi. Back then I said DeFi. Well, we're already doing DeFi. Bitcoin is DeFi, and so for me it's like everything is amazing innovation. As a lawyer, I'm trying to support this always. So bullish on everything.
Nick.
Okay, I think with the proliferation of like LSDs, you're going to start seeing people use a significantly larger amount of leverage than they felt comfortable using before you could unstake. And I think you're going to have a similar kind of situation that you had when Curve launched, right? Right, you could lock up your Curve tokens and unlock, a boost, right, to boost your yield from LPing and Curve. The only problem is when everyone, the amount of yield that was possible, right, was, as an absolute amount, right, the amount of tokens were the same, right, and so when everyone is boosting, no one is boosting. But I think it's going to be a similar situation where you're going to have people lever up on LSD yield and DeFi so much that it's actually going to bring non-LSD yield down like significantly, right? And I think that's going to have like interesting effects of like where kind of people land on the spectrum of like what they're looking for, right? Because the trade-offs are going to become much more distinct.
Sure. That's already a whole different panel discussion.
And it's bullish or bearish depending on which side of the divide you sit on. I'm a little bit biased.
Tiny bit, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think we're just getting started, to be honest. Like, I think the amount of innovation that's yet to take place is just like, it's just kicking off. We're like literally seeing the evolution of like this modular stack, continue to grow so quickly. Every, couple of months, there's a very new sort of, idea or like utilization play in the market. People are very excited about restaking. I think most people are like optimistically cautious about how that plays out and sort of the dynamics it introduces in Ethereum and its like core security model. But I think we're just literally seeing the beginning of this. And just to call it out, like staking today has been pure play staking, right? There's been nothing going on other than that, right? Whether you're an individual or a company or an institution, it's been like a one-way road and that's it, the journey ends there. I think what we're starting to see is like a real economy or like real industry form around this where loads of different players play loads of different roles and there's going to be a ton of different monetization opportunities within that.
Amazing.
The ability to withdraw and the potential emergence of a risk-free rate, activating more traditional companies to join the space. I think that's what excites me.
Cool.
We didn't talk about risk-taking, about the eigenlayer stuff. What I'm bullish on, what was said here, like we are early. There is still a lot of development to do on the protocol level, on the side of the UX for home stakers, for distributed staking pools. So what I'm hoping for is more of this kind of stuff, like better tools for handling Ethereum trustlessly in general, but especially in the staking experience, having more or like improving the experience for distributed staking pools, and also empowering the home stakers. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
cool.
all of this, not to be the bad guy, but regulation or the, really because it's like technical developments that this is one thing that allows a lot of financial activity that is connected to the real world, and this is like maybe a big clash that will come or evolution. Yeah, and this is important also.
I think you need the same hoodie that he's wearing, the Institute of Crypto Anarchy.
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to mention, guys, anybody here, if you want to run your own node and you are scared of the terminal, just ask me or write me. I'm always glad to help with this kind of stuff if you want to help the network. Yeah.
There you go, call to action. And then can I get a big round of applause for this great panel?